Harsha, good morning. How are you?
Hi, morning, Mahesh. How are you?
I'm doing good. We can get started in 3 minutes. Thank you for joining early. I think everything is set up. So we are ready to rock. Swati should be here soon. Today it's all about Swati.
So actually, I was thinking um, whether of a topic and whether I could present at a future session.
Yeah, next session is me, and then I think you.
So I want your help and guidance, and I'll quickly say. So I've joined part-time, not part-time, but somewhat of a part-time thing with a company called Casper Labs. Casper Labs is a joint initiative with IBM. So they're trying to build a framework of um, integrating generative AI with a blockchain platform, specifically the WatsonX governance platform for generative AI, and how does it help with the assurance and things like that. So I wanted to
That's
see if I
awesome,
can.
man. So happy for you. We can chat after the call. Tomorrow
Yeah,
may be hard for me to join, but I can stay back a little bit after the call. So let's get on a call after the call. We can talk for 15 minutes
sure.
and plan your session, if that helps. Because we are getting started here, right? Other people will join.
So tomorrow morning is difficult for you?
Yeah, tomorrow morning is little hard. We have something
Oh.
other scheduled in the same time frame.
Do you have some
But
time in the evening if it's okay?
yeah, I can talk after the call. Are you not free after the call? Are you busy?
Around that PM exercises course starts,
Oh,
10:30, so that little bit time. That's it. That's all.
okay, okay.
If
Yeah,
it's okay,
that's fine.
I can stay. No problem. But
No
if
problem. Let's find more time. Maybe tomorrow it's just wanky, but I will ping you, and
or
we can.
evening, whichever time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll find something. But that's great news, man. I'm so happy for you.
No, it is just temporary. So I'm not placing too much. I'm still going and looking out.
Start somewhere, I would say, right? Hi, Reena. Hi, Shilan. Long time, Reena. How are you? Long time. Both of you are mute. If you're saying something, I can definitely not hear you. Can you all hear me? Say good morning. Shilan,
Morning.
say good morning. Long time, right?
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way. I'm so happy. This is not going live. This is just getting recorded. Arena, so long, right? 4 years? Almost 4 years? Rina can't hear me. I used to work with her. The work that you have done with, seen that IoT project, she did that with us. She used to work at Linker then.
Hi,
Now,
good
yes.
morning.
Good morning. Long time, huh?
Yeah, it's a long time.
Good to see you. Let me put everybody in, including the
Uh,
guest today, which is Swati. Welcome, everyone. First of all, thank you for joining. I know a lot of people are just coming in, so let me just keep admitting them. I think we have the quorum. Swati is here. Everybody say hi to Swati because in a second you will know she is the most important person today because she's doing this session. So let me just share my screen and let us get started. Kalpan is here, and some of my friends can't make it today. They send Joanne is here, so it would be fun. That's all I needed. So if Joanne is here, Neeraj is here, Kalpan is here, Harsha is here, I think we are ready. That's all I needed. Anushil is coming in. It feels like a party. Okay, let's get started. I think today's session is really jam packed. We have a lot to discuss, and I'm pretty sure you will have a lot of questions for after you see what Swati has done. Swati, say hi. At least make sure your your audio is working.
Hey everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So I think Swati is here, and we are all set. More people. At some point, I should just say, if you come like 5 minutes late, you won't be admitted to this call. This is the luxury we have, right? We never had that in other community sessions, but this way we can say we will start at time, and if you're not here on time, after 5, no more. Just kidding, folks. But I admitted everyone, but still people are coming. So just let's give me 1 more minute and we will get started. Let me go live. And 3, 2, 1, go live. Actually, we should. Something went wrong. Try again. Please do it. Okay, I think we are good to go. So thank you. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the party again. And let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll go through the agenda. Today, Swati is going to talk to all of us and it will be so much fun. Swati did share a little bit of what she's going to talk about, and I'm super pumped on what we're going to do today. So let's get started. Can you folks see my screen where you can see all of you?
Yep.
Awesome. That's all I needed in life. Okay. So today's plan is, first of all, top of mind. What's going on in the world for me? And so a couple of announcements. Please join our Slack channel. This is the form. Harsha can paste it in the chat. If you have not filled the form, you would not be in this call, by the way. But people joining from LinkedIn, please fill the form if you want to be here on the Zoom call. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Actually, we have 8 more spots left. We reached 92 yesterday. I wanted to keep it to 100 invites only. We'll figure out more. If you want to get into a 4 weeks pro bono internship at an AI startup, I know few people. I have something that I have access to. Happy to give you that live working, because most of the things that are GenAI specific, you can only learn by doing. And this would be a cool internship. The requirement is 20 hours commitment per week. We forgot to say that here, but it's per week, and you will get 4 weeks. You get to do a product or project, ship it, and claim it as something that you can talk about when you're talking to people, what you have done in GenAI, or build your portfolio, or learn something that you will take to your own companies. So I think it will be an amazing session or amazing opportunity. I think 2 or 3 positions is all I can afford at this time. But if we see a lot of interest, I will try to work on this more. Let's talk about what happened last week, GTC 2024. How many of you have attended GTC 2024? Online, offline, anyway? Any raise hands?
I did online.
For sure, I know. Anybody else who saw the sessions? At least if you attended the Jensen keynote, I will call that you attended it.
Yeah, I went live for the first day for the keynote.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
same here.
Awesome. Any takeaways, anything anybody want to share?
I posted my takeaways in an article and share it on.
Awesome, Harsha. Please paste your article. A few things. I think we should just do a deep dive on GTC, but mostly new chip. You have seen Blackwell, new chip that came out. One thing is the cadence is changing from 2 years to 1 year. That's a big deal from my perspective. That you remember like iPhones, and then they had like 2 years and then they started doing 1 year. That means the demand is so high and they want to capture maximum amount of market. And it's really hard to ship 1 year cadence chips, and especially when they're trying to load 8x more capability into the same chip. They have not even delivered H100 yet, which people have ordered, but they have already started taking orders of a new chip, which will not come by this time next year. So that's the kind of state AI is in, and that's the kind of state the demand and supply gaps are. So think about that. Also, when you read, think about, they have also not only giving the highest, most competing or the most powerful chips, they're also giving the network capabilities. And that's in the link is in the community slides. First slide, Harsha.
Okay, got it.
So just paste everything here, right? And the second thing you need to look at is the network they're talking about. So they also are innovating at the same time network. And why is that important is because the language models or the large models are not getting trained on a single GPU. They are getting trained on a cluster of GPU. And the total compute that you offer or how much time it takes to train a model like Llama 2 or GPT-4. It comes down to how much end-to-end compute you can provide, where network is the biggest bottleneck, because these one GPU need to talk to other GPU when you are doing training or inferencing for these large models. And that's where the network piece comes in. They, I think, 4 times, I need to check, but 800 GBs per second transmission speed is what they offer. That remains their moat. And then they also release like a service which allows you to access all these capabilities as a service, uh, a cloud that runs on top of infrastructure cloud providers. And always what I look at GTC is this mesmerizing effect of what's coming next. I think they have done an amazing work on, Nvidia has done an amazing work on finding out what next and pivoting the company before it becomes super crowded in that space, and innovating chips specifically for that industry. So when I watched it, something that I always take away, one takeaway I try to take is what's coming next in computing, because computing remains the bedrock, or you can say the fundamental layer or the basic first layer on which everything needs to be built, like a frameworks, and then on top of. So let's do a session on what an AI stack looks like, where NVIDIA stays, what is the moat of NVIDIA, why NVIDIA is the only mm, chip maker which is gaining a lot out of AI, and what they announced. So maybe that's what we can double down on. But coming back to right, what's coming next, like what exactly is in there for all of us, was this idea that what's coming next. And I saw two investments, right? They last year, it was so cool. It was last year, last to last year, last to last year, I when I was at Facebook, we were talking about metaverse and all, and we thought like the whole world will converge. I thought differently. I thought whole world will converge to something, but not metaverse. I thought AI, and we were not talking enough about AI at Facebook. That was personal, personal rant. But at that time, we talked about metaverse, and metaverse was the cool thing. And they talk about Omniverse in GTC. So this idea of the virtual worlds and how they're gonna make simulated worlds, how first they are coming to industry, which is what Omniverse is targeting. And once you have industry use cases, you see like the consumer use cases, which is metaverse. Uh, Still, I think is the biggest bet of one of the next generation tech, or in next 10 years, what you will see in technology. And another thing that I think the precursor thing that GTC showed me was this idea of Jetson powered robots. So this idea that how can, so these AIs are becoming really good at answering your questions, learning from what you have written, but they have no clue or very less clue around the physical world, how physics works. They cannot take a step. They cannot drive like getting a driving car or an autonomous car has been a challenge for almost 20 years now. So that is the another frontier, which I think first omniverse or metaverses of the world, or a virtual reality AR VR, and then humanoid robots. That's coming. And the more you can learn, more you can grow into those fields, is something I think to stay ahead of the innovation curve. So these were my takeaways. Happy to take any other uh, question on that or discussion point. Couple of more things, and then I want to quickly finish this today so that I give a lot of time to Swati and a lot of time for you to ask Swati questions. Inflection AI. So Inflection AI is this company that is started by Greylock founder, the founders of LinkedIn, and Mustafa Suleyman was the CEO. He was the guy who was at DeepMind. He's the guy who worked at Google, and then he went and started Inflection AI. I think they got 350 million funding to get started, and they had around $1 billion in funding in their last round. More than billion. Like I think the company was 4 billion, and more than billion they were raising. They released this model called Pi, and the cool part was that it had a personality to it. But last week what happened is Inflection AI and the founder of Inflection AI is going to Microsoft, starting Microsoft AI, and starting a new division inside Microsoft AI division. He marked himself as the CEO of Microsoft AI, and his name is Mustafa Suleyman. And I was looking at his trajectory, and he's from London. He's 2 years younger than me, and now you all know my age. So, so 2 years younger than me, and then he started early on, and he started this program for Muslim youth for help. They started a helpline where people can call. Then he was looking to scale that. He made it like the biggest platform at that time, and then he went in to start working on DeepMind, and then DeepMind got sold to Google, and he was a VP at Google. And then he was more passionate about how AI needs to be treated or how we need to be careful. And then I think he published a blog, got into some problems, and eventually left Google to start Inflection AI. And now he got another $1 billion or so, maybe. I hope he got $1 billion or so, a check. So there's a lot of money, at least on the top side of this funnel. And the goal for all of us is to quickly reach there before it's too late. On that, I would highly recommend you to watch this show. It's a 3-hour show, but but things don't come easy, and I don't want to watch this, but somehow wanted to show this. So I think so. This is the episode. Yann LeCun is one of my favorite guys. He was at Meta, and that's how I know him. I came to know him. I was not that aware that he did so great work unless I reached Meta. He was the VP of FAIR, which is Facebook AI, and he talks a lot about this show on like a lot of ideas in this show. I won't reveal all of them, but the core ideas is that the current state of affairs is not where we want to be, and it's not capable of reasoning, staying in physical world and challenges, and what's the next frontier would look like. I think it's a very good presentation. If you have attended any of my courses, I think you will be able to make a lot of sense of out of it. But still, there are some areas that may go over your head because he's a little technical. But I will still highly, highly recommend all of you to watch it. And maybe we should just discuss 3 or 4 core ideas that he discussed in this talk next week. So next week we'll talk about GTC and overall challenges, or from research perspective, what is the frontier looks like, why the current core technology behind LLMs, which is transformers, which is a static model predicting a next word, is not going to cut beyond basic things that we have seen, which is it can generate the first draft, but it cannot do reasoning, and it's not going to resolve or become this human person. So that's my TLDR for today. And with that, because we talked a lot about Microsoft, and I was looking for a lot of people who are working in Gen AI space, today we have Swati. Swati is working at Microsoft AI and building real Gen AI based products. And I want to hand it over to Swati to introduce herself. She has prepared some slides. She will set the ground with those slides. It's an extension of the discussion we are having. So that's the good part. She's going to extend the learnings we have done. So she's not just coming from somewhere and just talking about something. She was here with all of us in all these sessions. And today she's going to talk about what she's doing and a lot of things, what she's observing outside her work. This talk is nothing to do with Microsoft. It's Swati's personal quest for learning. So with this, I will hand it over to Swati. Swati, let me make you a presenter so you can present.
Okay. Perfect.
Now I need to figure out, oh, maybe I just right click and say make presenter, something like that. Just give me 1 second. Somehow I need to figure that out. That shows how least competent I am with this tool. Participant and Swati, got it. More make host. Swati, you need to learn that also because at some point you need to give it back to me. You're the host, Swati. Go ahead. All yours.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna just share my screen and give a. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ROI of GenAI products.
Right. So, hey everybody, I'm a big fan of these sessions, and I think Mahesh provides some really good insights week after week and with a lot of dedication. So, I'm very excited to share some of my insights as well, learn from these sessions, as well as my experience building the Copilot experience at Microsoft. So, just for starters, I'm Swati. I'm a generative AI PM at Microsoft. And I'm currently building a Copilot experience for my team. And I am really excited to share about the measurement of ROI for generative AI products and features. So as we start seeing more Gen AI apps in the market, one of the big questions that arise are like, how am I going to measure the ROI? Like, what is the value of these features? Right? How much is the productivity gains? Like, everybody's talking about efficiency gains because of generative AI products, but how do you quantify it? Like, how do you articulate the value in a very objective and succinct manner? And this session is very exciting because I'm going to be sharing a couple of examples, like industry standards. One is Notion AI, and the second is Microsoft Copilot, and talk a little bit about how these companies are looking at different scales for their calculation of generative AI ROI. But before diving into the details, I just want to provide a quick disclaimer is that, as Mahesh called out, like these are all personal views. This is not endorsed by my employer or any other company. So with that disclaimer, I think let's kick it off. So um, I so the first question is, which is very fundamental, like at the base of this session is like, why is ROI even important? Why do we really need to spend a session on this? And not only this session, Mahesh has actually shared a couple of more sessions in the past, and I think they're really good. So if you haven't watched them, I would highly encourage to check them out as well. So at a fundamental level, why is ROI important, right? There's so many reasons, but primarily you could think of it in three, different buckets. So the first bucket is that, articulating the value proposition, because that essentially helps to demonstrate the perceived value of your product, right? What is the benefit? What is the gain? And that's going to help and tie to the second point, which is a budget justification or pricing of the customer for customers. It's like, when you start explaining the value of the product, you are able to charge, negotiate, and claim a price from your customers. And hence it's really important to start articulating what are the tangible benefits, and in the form of like monetary value or time saved. There are various parameters, so you can actually start looking into that as well. And lastly is competitive advantage, right? Like, so today, in the AI app space, we have a few apps, right? And as time is progressing, we'll have even more apps getting flooded in the market. So in order to have that competitive advantage or to differentiate yourself amongst the other apps, it becomes important to really like start articulating the ROI, and position yourself, and helps you have that competitive advantage. So having said that, like, all these are all the great important things, but these are still early days, right? So ChatGPT came out in November of 2022, and that's where the commercialization of generative AI products even got initiated. So it's still in the early days, but in the space specifically of enterprise productivity tools, a few companies have taken a stab at it, and that's where we want to like spend the bulk of our time today. So the first case here is Notion AI. Right? Notion is a very popular tool. It's a productivity tool that we use. It helps to take notes, meeting notes, like arrange all our documents, folders, etc. So Notion AI has come up with a writing assistant to help with summarizing, editing, brainstorming. All this is great, but how do you calculate the value or the ROI over there, right? What is the value proposition? So interestingly, they have come up with this formula, and the the thing that they're explaining is that what they've seen is on average, a Notion AI user asks 2.7 queries per day, and per query, 5 minutes are saved. That's an approximation. And if you take a team or a company of 100 employees and a 33% adoption rate, which is like 1/3 of the people are using Notion AI, and for a year, which is of 249 days, about 1,848 hours are saved per year. And that is Notion's AI's claim today. And personally, I feel this is a really good start, right? Like they are doing it in a very quantitative and objective way. They're comparing it with, the pre-Copilot or pre-Notion AI days, and they're comparing it and it's talking about the time saved. However, I feel like, one way to kind of make it more compelling could be probably breaking down this time saved of 5 minutes into the subtasks that the Notion AI does, right? So it's talking about like summarizing documents, brainstorming, etc. If there is a way in which we have more granular data of the use case that Notion AI is talking about, then it's even better and a more compelling story to tell to the customer as to what is the value gained at each use case level, because there are certain variations. The time taken to create a document would be different from time creating to summarize it, etc. But I think it's a great first step, and definitely with more data, more users, we will start seeing that granular breakdown as well. So essentially, what Notion AI is saying is that if you, as a company, invest $10 per person per month, which is their pricing today, you ultimately get about $95 per person per month savings. And that is with an assumption of, compensation of 120K per person, 40 hours work week. And, you can obviously tweak the assumptions and, actually identify what are the savings. But what they're trying to say is with $1 input, you're getting almost 10 times the output or time saved. So that's a claim that Notion AI is doing at the moment. Pretty interesting, and we'll see how it progresses with more data and more users adopting. I just want to take a pause here and ask if there are any questions. Otherwise, we can move to the next slide.
I think these are pretty interesting things. Like a couple of things like I observed, which is like 10x already. So that's the promise like a new tech tries to give, which is we will 10x like the current state. And now they are trying to prove that in their website that if you adopt AI, so it's an upgrade, I believe. So Notion has X amount, and then you pay $10 to upgrade to AI. And if you upgrade to AI, basically, if you spend 10, you get 10x. And that's the engine of capitalist economies, which is the output has to be more than input, and here it is more than 10x. So if you are the guy who is signing the CFO, signing the check, what more you need? So that was quite interesting. And yeah, that's my take.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting to start seeing these numbers coming out so early in the journey. So I think this is a really good start for other companies as well to start thinking about it. And as you start thinking, if you own your own startup and you want to pitch to customers, or if you're a product manager and want to start pitching the value. Harsha, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm just curious, the customer base for Notion AI, is it a whole new customer base from the existing one, or did they add on a whole slew of new customers? So what I'm asking is, this ROI and this growth, is it a result of switchover of the existing customer base because they are familiar with Notion AI, or people were so blown away by Notion AI that they came in droves and signed up and subscribed to the product?
I think there are a couple of thoughts over here. So the first is historically Notion as a product has been a B2C product, but now with the shifting and also making enterprises as one of their main consumers bases. In fact, they I think have a tiered subscription model. So my sense is that this is going to be on top of the enterprise current packages that they are providing, and the $10 is going to be is an overhead or like an extra additional cost. It's for the premium feature of Notion AI, so it's going to target the same user base. But also feel like this is a good way to get people excited to even start using Notion in the first place, to start realizing the value of Notion AI. So it's going to expand the market and the current user base, but I think it's going to be targeted for the existing
Yeah.
base.
It is interesting to analyze. I think Jasper AI came out a little before Notion AI, and it had a phenomenal growth in the beginning, and then it flattened out. So it is not that hot anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think the interesting part which Harsha tried to bring is that first you have to have a core value proposition. The core value proposition Notion provides is a very beautiful way to present, organize your information, and then share it with the people you want to share in a closed or open environment. That's remains true. And if you want to sell your product, that needs to first attach to your customer. Now, once the customer is inside your product, they are writing wiki articles. And today they are going to ChatGPT to write and then copy and then edit and then copy and then edit. Now you can do it right here. So that's the bare minimum. So it's a retention of current user, which is might have gone to Jasper or ChatGPT or a new way of organizing information, which is AI first. So first, saving or keeping your moat. And the second aspect is, if I never knew, I was born yesterday and I just joined Jasper or Notion, I get everything Notion has and I see it as an AI company. So I never look at. And if I look for writing tools with AI, now Notion will also show up. So some funnel on the top also has an impact, which is acquiring new customers. Because if I'm doing a search, which is an AI writing tool, yeah, I start in Notion, but it also helps me organize my information. And if that's available for me for free for a month or 3 users, why not? Right. So that's the take. One question, which I think Ganeshan, you want to go ahead with the go ahead, Ganeshan. Yeah, he raised the hand.
Sure. Usually the premium models, the conversion rate is fairly less, right? So many people will sign up for a 1 month free trial, and only a subsection of them will translate. So when we are doing the ROI calculation, I think that also kind of taken into account. Otherwise, the numbers would appear like artificially much higher ROIs.
Yeah. So I think the takeaway for me was, Swati, you want to take it? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I will give you Swati. So my take was that when they talk about this, they are not showing like how many people, right? That's their close study. But what they are showing is that X to Y. So they have a journey. In journey, there is a time that it takes for a person to publish an article, which is 5 minutes saved per query. That means that, hey, I wanted to publish or create this chapter or this wiki page, and before AI it took me X amount of time. Now it takes me X minus 5 minutes, right? So if I can say that to do a job, first they have to describe on their platform what a job looks like, what that per query means. And if that query is writing an article or updating an article or correcting an article, then they are saying with AI it's 5 minutes faster. Now for how many, how much, that I don't think they scoped. And I agree with you, Ganesan, that if they would have gone with their free trial, it would have looked much better or higher. This is just like a simple case study to show with a 100-employee company what that ROI looks like. Swati, go ahead. Sorry, it took
Yeah,
your
no,
time.
you covered it well, right? Like, and I think Ganeshan also made a really good point. Like this number would change depending on multiple like assumptions that we're making, which is comp and work hours, etc., and also the pricing, right? So with the free tier, this $10 would actually become zero for that first month. So, yeah, I mean, this would not be the end all be all, but I think the big point is that they're trying to make is that there's going to be a 5 minute saving per query pre Copilot or pre Notion AI and post Notion AI without Notion AI. with Notion are going to save 5 minutes. So I think that's the claim that they're trying to make over here, and we can extend into savings and ROI and numbers, etc. But pretty interesting, given that it's such a popular tool and it's making its mark in the enterprise space as well. So
We can go ahead. I have
okay.
another question, but I think it's covered in your answer, Swati. So I
Okay,
think we're
cool.
good.
Awesome. So the next is Microsoft Copilot. So yeah, so Microsoft has a bunch of copilots that they've released in the recent few months, and it ranges all the way from a sales copilot to security copilot to M365 copilot, and just a little bit of a flavor for what one of these look like, right? So sales copilot is basically helping sales team get more relevant sales insights because it's connected to the Microsoft Dynamics as well as Salesforce CRM. So it helps them to like answer calls of customers, reply to emails in a very quicker and faster way. But I feel the more popular Copilot of Microsoft is the M365 Copilot, and I think it's a very just breaking down the terminology, which is it's a Microsoft 365 Copilot, and it covers a bunch of apps, right? So think of it as Copilot in Word, PowerPoint, in Teams, Outlook, Loop, OneNote. So it's a classic enterprise productivity space, and that is where my M365 Copilot is performing. But again, like so many of these models are coming out, and I think they're pricing it as $30 per user per month. So this begs the question is like, what is the output, right? What is the value that it's coming? And Microsoft actually did a very comprehensive study last year and released some of the results from that survey in November 2023. And something that really stuck out was about this approach that they took to define ROI, which is very qualitative and in a sentiment analysis fashion. So they actually compared the value of Copilot with that of a free lunch. And I thought that was a creative genius stroke because it does two things, right? One is that by comparing it with a free lunch, you're basically comparing it with a very relatable benchmark and metric, right? So if you have a team of 10 employees and you want to make them happy, you basically order a pizza. One of the ways is you order a pizza and they're happy. But now employees are saying that over and above a pizza, they want to see the Copilot experience. So that just helps to make it more concrete as to how much employees feel the value of the Copilot experience. And the second thing is that from the lens of pricing. So when you think of a weekly free lunch, imagine it costs about like whatever $20 per lunch for one person, and then if you're taking it like for 4 weeks, so it's going to be $80 per person per month. And like companies are okay to invest $80 per person per month because of that free lunch. So now, since employees are asking for a Copilot experience, somewhere it kind of helps to benchmark that this could ideally become as good as investment of $80. So that is where I felt like it covers both lens in terms of relatability and pricing, and I think it provides like a really good benchmark to start thinking about the value of Copilot. The other approach that they took was about running a survey and experiment. So it's a very classic approach of like you have a control group, you have a treatment group. With control group, they provide the Copilot experience. Without a treatment, they provide Copilot experience, and they run it over a period of time with a group of people. And they actually found some really interesting takeaways in terms of time saved, how much people felt faster. And if you see, like, this is broken down at a second level, and like 29 minutes and 42 seconds, like it's very, very granular and specific. And it also basically talks about the different tasks or subtasks. So something that I was talking about Notion AI, it's like breaking it down at a use case level, so helps to paint a picture better. So I'd highly encourage to check this very detailed, comprehensive report if you're starting to think about, articulating ROI for your customers. But any questions at this stage?
I can add a few things. So I think one thing that stood out, first of all, thank you. Thank you for bringing this report. I think I read it because you pointed it, although its information is public. But I think it answered all the previous questions, right? How you got this data, what is the data about, which people you chose, and all. So this is what like large companies do. If they want to make big bets, they actually spend 6 months coming up with the methodology of testing the grounds or testing the waters. It's like a large ship trying to move and trying to find if there's an iceberg out there. So that was what they're trying to do here, right? If they are doing case studies, watching people for like months, and then coming up 30% efficiency, then 6 months later they can actually pay billions of dollars to some guy who to run Microsoft AI and run maybe just make these kind of investment. You need this kind of data. And if you're a startup, I think advantage for you is you need not to spend those 3 months figuring out how to test it. It's already proven by a player. So just copy paste it and see if you can prove to your customer in similar manner. At least start here and then innovate on top of it. But this is bare minimum the standard. So anything like these large players do after doing 6 months and throwing like best of the minds like Swati and all into these problems, you get to have those for free. So I think that's what I took away. So I stop here. Any questions? Swati was kind enough to let us ask questions while she's presenting this.
Yeah, one question from my side. So, Swati, have you seen any examples on ROI that are outside of the enterprise productivity space?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question and a very good segue into what we want to discuss next. It's actually a really good way to move to the next slide, which is we will look into Klarna, which is basically a fintech company, Swiss-based fintech company, and they released a customer service AI assistant, which has really tall claims and has made the news cycle. So it'd be very interesting to see how they are calculating, what are some of the metrics that they are using for this real life use case, which is in prod and people are using and taking into account. So great question. So I think we've seen Notion AI, we've seen Microsoft Copilot. Personally, the big takeaways for me is like when you start looking to articulate the ROI, you could look at it in two ways, right? First is quantitative gains, which is an approach that Notion AI took and had a baseline of a pre-AI world, and then talked about how bringing that Notion AI helped with the time saved in 5 minutes per query, etc. And the second approach is basically, backing it up or augmenting that quantitative gains with qualitative value. So it's like talking about sentiment analysis, which Microsoft touched a little bit about as well, and in fact, did both quantitative and qualitative analysis. And depending, as Mahesh also called out, right, depending on the stage of your company and the resources and the bandwidth that you have, you can go about either way. But I think if you're starting out, like you're a startup, you basically probably want to just look into getting some baseline assumptions, like how much is the time saved per query, or how, even in Klarna's case, we'll go through some of these metrics. But I think it's a very personal choice, and a quicker assumption would take lesser time and lesser bandwidth to start articulating it. The last piece, which is about storytelling with metrics, I personally feel like numbers and metrics are a great way to tell a story. Like you can arrange these numbers, or you can actually frame and position it in such a way that you can tell a story. So you need not like talk about North Star metric only, or like how much is the time saved, or how many employees worth work is the AI doing. You can actually talk about leading indicators or proxy metrics that ultimately land and move towards the North Star metric, because calculating a North Star metric is hard, is not easy. You have to make a lot of assumptions. So um, that's basically one of the things I will encourage as well. So let's look at Klarna, which is basically um, a fintech company that has launched an AI assistant. So if you saw the news, basically Klarna's North Star metric, or the thing that they're trying to track and explain, is that the AI assistant is doing the job of 700 full-time employees. That, and this is with 1 month of the release of this, customer chat experience. And some of the sub metrics or proxy metrics that they are eyeing is the number of total conversations that have happened on this assistant. The second is like, what is the decrease in repeat queries? What is the average conversation time that has dropped? So from a customer standpoint, 11-minute to a 2-minute drop, it's like 5 times reduced. It adds a lot of value. And last is it's scalable with 23 markets and 35 languages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any
Keep
questions?
going. Oh, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, so I think these were
I
some.
think this is very interesting, right? This is the first time, right? When Klarna's news, I watched it. I first time felt like somebody has taken a bold step, because before that we were just talking about, hey, 33% productivity, better than lunches. Hey, we will make you 10x better, 10x faster. But they came out and they said, you know what? 700 people gone, 40% this, 30% this, and this is like what Swati was talking earlier, which is you will be able to measure some kind of good enough anecdotal data on how much time you are saving or how efficient you are making the process. It's about time versus and how much cost you are saving to do the same job, which AI can do in X amount of dollars, and this time saved. And then you can take it to people, because end of the day, people pay them by hours. And if you take that time AI is doing, and then if people were doing that, we were doing 100 hours in support, AI is taking 30 hours, and still we are not hiring more people, or we let go, let's say 2 or 3 people, like 30% of that workforce now, and still we need not to hire, and the customer scores are not moving. Within 6 months, they can just claim something like that. I don't know, they waited 6 months. I'm sure they didn't. But that's what, if you are desperate, you can use that metrics. Other way you can use that, what Swati was giving earlier example on, is you can say you are making your company efficient into doing this role. So you can, 100 people were serving X number of customers, your company grew from X to 2X, but you still have these same number of people serving because you augmented them with AI. That's where I think a lot of Copilot discussions are going, not around Microsoft, but generally like this assist use case, saying you need not to scale your back office operations as you scale your business. You will need humans, but your back office operations are, like, I think the first thing that you start putting these AI tools and say, I need not to scale my back office linearly as my company scales if I'm an AI customer. And then those customers are being utilized by the platform to tell their story, saying, this is our ROI, that if you are on, Azure AI or AWS AI or GCP AI, then you can be more efficient. The same story, if you remember, was told with cloud, which is you can start infrastructure as a service. And I think this is back office as a service. So that's my take, and that's where we are heading. I know we are left with like 10 minutes, but I have prepared some interesting questions for Swati. I want to make sure that I get to ask those questions to Swati, and Swati can share her views. They're a little hard, so please help Swati and me. But as easy as is, I just want to get started with how you get into GenAI, because that I think is easy. For you, it's very personal, but it's really hard, right? Because a lot of companies, because I know when I talk to Swati, a lot of my friends, I have a lot of people who work in machine learning and AI. I know very few people who are actually building Gen AI based products and have shipped a couple of cycles already to, and have some kind of feedback to, like, see an end-to-end loop to actually make judgment what works, what doesn't. So Swati, how you got into this? Maybe a little bit about your personal story.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's a very personal journey as well. But just a little bit is that I've always kind of enjoyed building and shipping and launching products. Like the 0 to 1 cycle is always exciting and rewarding in a sense. So a few years back had launched a vaccination reminder app for the women living in or mothers living in India's slums, and that actually scaled it to 50,000 mothers, had some tie-ups with UNICEF, PCG, etc., and potential partnerships. And just going through that journey was helped me feel and realize like how much technology can add outcomes, and seeing that firsthand was great. I always wanted to actually then start building products myself, like launching it. Because I was a software engineer at that time, but I felt like I wanted to make that pivot to being a PM as well. So that kicked off that journey. And I remember when ChatGPT came out in November 2022, it was like a big hysteria. Everybody was using it. And while AI has been around for a really long time, this commercialization of GenAI tools in the hands of public actually exploded and got out some real life opportunities. And I was just thinking as I was talking to my customers at Microsoft, I felt like there were so many use cases and that could make our customers faster and make them more efficient. And I felt like GenAI as a tool could provide a lot of value there. I wasn't thinking of ROI at that time, but that got me reading obsessively, watching a lot of podcasts, thinking through things, and just reading up within Microsoft. Also, there's a lot of literature, so that got me well equipped. And there was an opportunity in the team, so I took that. Yeah.
Every time I ask this question, I learn something new. Uh, so go ahead. I think Harsha, you have a question from LinkedIn.
Yes, actually, it's a question from Mahesh Gaikwad.
Oh, Mahesh, he's a friend. I
Okay.
hope that question is easy.
I think the question has to do with the ROI and how do you factor in the cost of learning, the learning curve with the new features and the issue with the Gen AI problems today. So I think that's what I understood.
Yeah, go ahead, Swati. You want to take a first step?
Yeah, so I think the way I understood the question, and maybe we can, like Mahesh, if you can share, or Harsha can share if you understand differently, is basically you can't, like, once the AI product is launched or an assistant is launched, people don't automatically start using it, and hence it automatically doesn't accrue into value or ROI. So I think that's where you need to factor in some sort of like probability or some sort of time for learning curve. And I think just probably saying 1/3 of the people, like that's what Notion AI did, was 1/3 adoption rate instead of 100% adoption rate, can actually bake in some sort of cushion that, it's not going to be a quick 0 to 100 very quickly, but it's going to take time. And even at its peak, there are only going to be like 50% of people in the company that would use it. So I think that's very critical to kind of bake that into the equation. And this is the question a lot of customers will ask. It's a great one.
Okay. Couple of other questions, Swati. One's from me and one is from Mahesh. Again, I think I got a better sense of what Mahesh's question is. So let me go with that. So he has a very interesting take. So the ROI things that you have shown so far is an improvement in productivity and work, right? Now he's curious about what will be the ROI for creativity and innovation if you use generative AI for that. And the second question is from me. So I was just thinking whether it would be worthwhile to think of ROI generative products from a native AI native product point of view and an AI augmented product. So for example, Microsoft 365 considers an AI augmented product. So I know you can use Word for typing stuff and things. Now we have put a Copilot to do some additional drafting, productive things. So I consider this an AI augmented product. But whereas an AI native product would be something like Runway ML, right? You just put a text and you create video and music. So that's a total AI native. So those are the two things I got. I think these are interesting things. We'd love to see how, what your viewpoint on that.
I can take the first stab on these. I think these are interesting for me. I just can't resist. Swati, you wanted to go ahead,
Right.
or you want me to? Okay, let me take the first stab on this, and then I will give it to Swati. Right. So I think let's break it. Right. I think things like Mid-Journey happened, Runaway happened, because see, there is let's go to the base. Right. The base is that people needs to get jobs done, and the jobs require them to type things, attach pictures, and now the new format is video. So people need to communicate to get things done, and how we communicate today, and there is the internet which connects people. So now the business happens on top of internet, and three ways to communicate. And now I think things like Mid-Journey or Runway happened because people didn't had a way to communicate with the existing tools. I think Office or like any other tool I don't can't recall, but Office remains the fundamental bedrock of communication inside your company, whether you're using Outlook, Word, Excel, or Google Workspace, uh, to say that. But they were trying to do that, right? If you were doing your PowerPoint presentations, you were trying to get images into them. There was this insert feature which gets into that. Then there is this interesting side of this is, okay, now that's boring enterprise work. Maybe we don't need a lot of videos, images, but what about the interesting kind of work? And we need new kind of creation of scenarios like gaming, and we need to create that. So that's the new thing I think Harsha is talking about. I'm just right now unboxing what Harsha is talking about. So there is this, like, now I can use Mid-Journey, Runway to create images and bring them back to these tools, and then use them because they didn't had this capability earlier, like Canvas or something Microsoft has now. It was not there, and people used to go create an image and then put that in their presentation. Now you can do it inside that. So one is like giving enterprise customers ways to communicate with AI, so augmenting it. I think that's an solid use case we discussed a lot, and I think Swati can add more to it. But this new case, which is what Mahesh and Harsha both are alluding to, which is what is possible new, what's the new economy looks like. People used to create videos before this, and they used to create multiple scenarios in those videos. People used to create games, and game needed a new world to be created. And now that world can be created in a very different way, maybe much faster. We are basically can replace compute with humans, and what the ROI of that world would look like. I think the basic fundamental people are taking is how much one unit costed there to produce. So they're looking at if they needed to create an image, or if I need to get a poster done today, if I hire a, a design firm to do it for me, or design my slides, or create a new poster, or create a new logo for my company, what that costs, and now what the cost of compute is. And that's where the argument which Sam is giving, or I think everybody's super excited about, is that compute is getting new ways. It's not about storage anymore, it's about compute. And if you have compute, you can actually represent human creativity in a way. So just, I don't think I answered the question, but I wanted to unbox it so that we all are talking about like the same things. So yes, we have clear ROI with the augmented products, with the new economy. Like I think $25 trillion or so current economy, and we are looking at 10x of that. So where the next, you know, $225 million, $25 trillion are going to come from? That's, I think there is a lot going on, and what we can produce as humanity is also like growing as compute is taking over creative jobs. Because the challenge with creativity was that we have only like 10%, 1% people who can actually produce a lot of genuine creative work. Now creating average works becomes commodity or given to compute, and we are left with a lot of people who are doing middle or not like high end creative work. We need to see, right, that hey, can we actually continue to produce creative work? I'm not seeing that yet, which people will continue. I think the groundworks, like if I need to produce a logo and I don't care about my logo, that job is going away, or that job I think AI will do, and the cost of that would be cost of compute, which is like cost of a VM with a A100 attached to it, which should be $1 per hour. And I can produce like 1,000 images of logos. So to specifically answer the question, how you compete ROI on these, I think you're going to compute ROI in 3 different sections. One is the lower part, which is compute versus human effort, which was trivial, but now you want to be specific. So now the second is assist use case. So a company has this awesome designer. The designer was taking X amount of time, but now he takes X minus Y because you give him the first draft. And I think now the third part, which is the top end of it, which is a specific designer who actually designs by hand and puts one sort of creativity, Picassos of the world. I don't think we're going to touch them, or there will be any ROI if you are targeting your logo to be done by that company. So a lot for us to unpack and solve. Swati, what's your take?
Yeah, no, I think that that was a great answer, and I'm trying to think what else. Like, I think you've covered a lot of the bases and have given a very comprehensive answer. But at a fundamental level, like as you also called out, at whichever layer it is, right? Either it's at a AI services level, deployment level, AI app level, whether it's assisted, whether it's standalone. I think one way to think of it is like just very fundamentally, what was the time take? Like define a unit metric. Like what was the thing before the Copilot, before the AI, before if you're talking about something more standalone, what was the time taken to do that before, or what was so any other metric, and what is it now? And I think just kind of making some assumptions and realizing the difference, then we can like add a lot of assumptions on top of it, and that can help to kind of build that story or talk about the ROI. But just articulating a difference across before and after, I think that itself is a very good first step there.
Harsha, you want to add any closing thoughts? I know you must have thought through this also, because sometimes when you ask a question, you must have thought through. You're just trying to validate.
It is not more of a question, but just mental note for me and for people. So I used to work at Adobe, and I'm a very extensive user of Adobe Creative Cloud even today. So it leads the talk by Swati and the framework leads me to say I should do more work on the ROI from Adobe's products, because it covers productivity, creativity, and innovation, right? So the act of creating new images through Photoshop, it now takes a whole new dimension with Firefly, and then the productivity thing. It's just I think just struck me that that's a great use case for either studying Adobe's customer research, and also my own personal thing. So how does it affect me as a long time user? So just a mental note, because I was trying to I got inspired by my Gaikwad's question. Yeah.
With that said, we are at 10. I had a lot of questions, but I think these were very interesting discussion. This is the format I like. Please let me know if you don't like the format. The format is, if we invite a guest speaker, we let them talk about some core things in 15-20 minutes, but we leave a lot of room for question answers and this kind of brainstorming. At the same time, we will be talking about NVIDIA GTC next. Please watch NVIDIA GTC keynote, do your research. We will unpack what it means for product manager, what are the use cases out of that, what are the challenges, and how to realize the potential of what NVIDIA is going to ship or AI basis. We'll also talk about AI stack, how NVIDIA remains the dominant player, and why everything starts with NVIDIA or AI chips in this stack. And if time permit, we will also unbuckle LeCun's challenges, which is a continuous stream here. It's the forum where we don't give solutions. It's the forum where we discuss challenges. We say, like we said, we don't know how to calculate ROI of top-end creative users. We will say a lot of other things. Go ahead. Somebody want to say any last thoughts? Okay. Seems like new to people, but
I have one last thing. So
sure.
in addition to the keynotes, I'm also going through the
just finish it.
Yes. I'm sorry, Mahesh. So in addition to the keynote sessions, I'm also going through some very individual session replays. GPC has a lot of individual session replays. Like one example is the session with the Chief Operating Officer of OpenAI. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to give some targeted, topic focus and see how to get. I mean, I'm also going through that sessions and getting my notes across so that topics of interest. Maybe
Sounds like let's make a two-way talk. I'm always welcome. If you want to talk, just let me know.
Oh, no,
And,
I was thinking more of some specific topics that probably I can highlight to you, and we can get your.
That's for sure. Just send it to me before, or we can discuss it during the call. And if you use the side session, just let me know. I'm happy to watch it and give my thoughts on that.
For example,
Harsha, I would love you to. I would also love you to talk about it. So just don't worry.
Sure.
Let's just do a 10-minute session. What you learn, and then I can use the other time.
Yeah,
and we should be able to do it together. I don't see why your perspective won't be useful for this.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'll do what can. For example, I saw the booth. I went to a booth and spent a lot of time in the Nvidia. What is that? SIM, right? No. It is both the hardware and the software packaged together. And then Accenture, Nvidia, and Microsoft. I think Microsoft. I mean, they had a huge partnership.
MIM is how they are called.
MIM. Sorry, MIM. Yeah. So those things like that. I think will be very valuable to get your perspective. What does it mean in terms of products, industry, opportunities, new things? Yeah.
Nvidia, I've seen it all, man. Nvidia was such a pain.
One cannot attend all the sessions. There's so many in parallel in so many topics. Physically, it is impossible, to be everywhere. And there's so many things of interest too.
Yeah. No, I keep watching Nvidia's GTC. If I want to research on something, I go to there first and then see if they have done something, and then go do my research. So I think it's an amazing conference. I've always recommended this, especially people who have attended my cohort. I recommended it like a year ago, but this year actually, I think a lot of people heard our advice. So finally, we are reaching that. So I think it's an important conversation and deserve an hour from us.
So Mahesh, we had 4 people.
I think beyond this, I highly recommend 3 hours for LeCun's video. Please watch it and bring good questions out of that. That would be an interesting discussion inside your companies, within your friends, and also this community. Let's continue to evolve or unpack that 3 hour across 10 sessions. I think it will take us 10 or so sessions to unpack what he has delivered. But let's make an attempt on it. I think those are 3 or 4 interesting conversations, like how joint embeddings are needed, how we have to train a latent space if we really want to solve reasoning, and how current ways of doing things are so inefficient. Those are top of mind, but I am listening him again and again and writing my notes and thinking. So I spend a lot of my time thinking on that 3 hour or whatever LeCun says or writes. So I would highly recommend all of you to do the same. With this note, I really want to thank you for coming. We reached 100 plus people all across 2 platforms. Today 150. This is the maximum. So I think all credit goes to Swati. I think Swati bring all that charm to us. And Swati, I know a lot of work gone into presenting what you presented today. We are so humbled and thankful. Thank you for bringing and enlightening us with all your thoughts.
Of course. Thanks to you and Harsha for sharing and actually helping me prepare this. So amazing. Great to talk.
Thanks. Bye. See ya next Saturday.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.